You know, when you hear about a shepherd boy from Spain having a recurring dream about treasure at the Egyptian pyramids, it sounds like a classic adventure, right? And it is. It sets in motion one of the most beloved stories of our time. But Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist, well, it's so much more than just a quest for gold. It's really a roadmap for a journey that I think we all have to take at some point, the journey to find our true purpose.
And this quote, this right here, is really the heart of the entire book. It's this powerful call to just silence all the noise from the outside world for a second and actually tune in to what your own intuition is telling you. You know that quiet space? That's where it all begins. That's where our true path starts to whisper to us.
So how are we going to unpack this incredible modern fable? Well, we're going to follow a map of our own. We'll start with the shepherd's dream, then look at the author's own wild story. We'll dive into the pillars of the journey, decode the language of symbols, tackle why this book is so polarizing, and finally, we'll get to the big one, what it really means to find your treasure.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Part 1, A Shepherd's Dream, The Call to Adventure. So, meet Santiago. He's a simple shepherd in Andalusia, and honestly, he loves his life. He loves the freedom. But then, something starts to interrupt that peace. A dream. And not just once, it's a recurring dream about a hidden treasure waiting for him, all the way over at the Egyptian pyramids. This, right here, is his call to adventure.
And this is where the story really opens up and shows its true depth. You see, the quest for gold and jewels, that's just the surface level. What's really happening is an allegory for an inner journey. Every single obstacle Santiago faces out there in the desert, every bit of fear, every moment of doubt, it's all just a mirror reflecting the internal battles that we all have to fight on our own paths to self-discovery.
Okay, part 2, the author's own legend. You know, to really get the power of this story, you have to look at the man who wrote it. Because for Paulo Coelho, this whole idea of following your destiny, it wasn't just some cool theme for a novel. No way. It was the very fabric of his own life.
I mean, listen to this. Coelho's own story is just as wild as Santiago's. As a young man, he was totally at odds with his parents' plans for him. They wanted him to be a lawyer, he wanted to be a writer. This conflict got so bad, they actually had him committed to a psychiatric hospital 3 times just for daring to dream. But then, in 1986, everything changes. He goes on this 500-mile pilgrimage, the Way of St. James, and has this massive spiritual awakening. And get this, just 1 year later, he sits down and writes The Alchemist in just 2 weeks. He said it was like the story was already written in his soul. He had finally found his own personal legend.
All right, part 3, Pillars of the Journey. So what are the big ideas that guide Santiago? The book introduces us to these, well, let's call them universal laws. It's like a spiritual physics that governs the entire world of The Alchemist.
Okay, the first and biggest one is the personal legend. What is that? Well, at its core, it's that dream you had when you were a kid, right? Before the world chimed in and told you to be realistic. It's that one-of-a-kind calling that's basically written on your soul. Coelho's idea is that we're all born knowing what our personal legend is, but life happens. We grow up, and it gets buried under all these layers of fear and other people's expectations.
And this quote about love, it just perfectly captures the book's whole take on relationships. So at one point, Santiago falls hard for a woman named Fatima at an oasis, and he's ready to give up his entire quest just to stay with her. But the alchemist steps in and teaches him this absolutely crucial lesson. Real love, true love, it never, ever holds you back from your destiny. In fact, it does the opposite. It supports it.
Okay, so if we're supposed to follow our personal legend, how do we find our way? The book says we need to listen to the soul of the world. It's this beautiful idea of an invisible thread that connects everything in creation. I'm talking from a tiny grain of sand all the way to the most distant star. It's like this universal consciousness that's always speaking its own language, a language of pure love and purpose.
And this leads us to probably the most famous line from the entire book. You've heard it, right? When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. This is basically the operating manual for the soul of the world. The idea is that when your desire is totally pure, when it's perfectly aligned with your personal legend, the entire fabric of existence will literally shift and rearrange itself to help you get there. I mean, what a radical idea, right? It's this huge statement of faith in the link between our own will and some kind of cosmic force.
So how exactly are we supposed to hear the voice of the universe? It's not like it sends you a text message. The book tells us to look for the omens. Think of them as secret messages that are hidden in plain sight. You know, those little synchronicities or coincidences that just feel significant?
Those are the signs that let you know you're on the right track. It's a language made of symbols, not words, and learning how to read it is the absolute key to unlocking your destiny.
And you can actually track Santiago's spiritual growth by watching how he learns to read these omens. At the beginning of his journey, he's kind of relying on these training wheels, right? A king gives him two stones, Urim and Thummim, that basically give him simple yes or no answers. But as he goes on, he starts to level up. He learns to read the signs in nature itself. There's this incredible moment when he sees two hawks fighting in the sky, and he just understands it's a vision of an upcoming battle. He's learning to tap in and listen to the world directly, without any tools.
And hey, speaking of good omens, as we continue on our little journey here, hitting that like button is always a great sign for us. It lets us know we're on the right path and, it really helps the channel grow. So thanks for that.
Moving on to part 4, the language of symbols. Honestly, I think one of the big reasons The Alchemist has grabbed hold of so many people is its incredible use of symbolism. I mean, on the surface, it's a pretty simple adventure story, but if you look just a little deeper, you realize that every single thing, every character, every place, is a metaphor for some deeper spiritual truth. So let's decode a few of the big ones.
First up, alchemy itself. In the book, it's not literally about turning lead into gold. It's a symbol for personal transformation, for Santiago's inner journey from a simple shepherd into someone who understands the language of the world. Then you have the desert. It's this vast, challenging landscape, right? It represents the trials and the solitude you have to go through for real self-discovery. The treasure is pretty straightforward. It's the goal, the realization of his personal legend. And what about the sheep he leaves behind at the very beginning? Well, they're all about a life of comfort, security, and just doing what everyone else does. The very things he has to leave behind to follow his dream.
Okay, Section 5, a polarizing phenomenon. Now, for a book that is so massively popular, The Alchemist is, well, it's incredibly polarizing. It's kind of funny, actually. For every single person who will tell you this book changed their life, you'll find someone else who just completely dismisses it.
So what's the deal? Why does this one little book spark such a fiery debate? Is it a life-changing fable full of profound wisdom? Or is it just simplistic, a collection of nice-sounding but ultimately empty phrases?
So on one hand, you've got the fans. For them, The Alchemist is this beautiful, spiritual blueprint. It's a source of hope, a reminder that the universe is fundamentally on our side. But then you have the critics. They look at the same book and see something totally different. They see something that's been called Live, Laugh, Love, the novel. They say it's preachy, that its optimism is naive, and that it just ignores the real struggles of life. One critic in his native Brazil famously called Coelho a saccharine hack, whose books are popular with, and I'm quoting here, your weird aunt who likes crystals. Ouch.
But, weird aunt or not, you just can't argue with the numbers. The book's incredible success really suggests it's tapping into some deep human need. We're talking over 65 million copies sold, translated into more than 80 languages. It has clearly touched people from every walk of life all over the world.
And its influence is just undeniable. I mean, look at this list of people who have praised it. It's been championed as life-changing by an absolutely incredible range of people. We're talking world leaders like Oprah and Bill Clinton, activists like Malala Yousafzai, and cultural powerhouses like Will Smith, Madonna, and Pharrell Williams, who literally said the book changed his whole life.
And that brings us to our final section, number 6, Finding Your Treasure. We're at the end of Santiago's long journey, and we're about to get the novel's final and maybe most powerful lesson about what it really means to find your treasure.
So after everything, Santiago finally makes it to the pyramids. And it seems like a total failure. He gets beaten, he gets robbed, he's left with absolutely nothing. But then, as he's lying there, one of the men who attacked him mentions a dream he once had, a dream about a treasure buried in a ruined church in Spain. And in that one instant, it all clicks for Santiago. The treasure, it was at home the whole time. He had to travel all the way to the other side of the world just to learn where he truly belonged. And that, right there, is the beautiful paradox at the very heart of The Alchemist. The destination was never really the point, was it? The real treasure was the journey itself. It was the person Santiago became along the way. It's such a powerful reminder that sometimes you have to go really, really far from home to find what you're looking for, only to realize it was inside you all along. So as we wrap this up, I'd love to know what insight from this incredible story resonates most with you today. Let me know in the comments.